have relationships between parents and teachers.
Work on this tonight.
Thanks, man.
What's this? What's that? Let's just get rid of that.
You put that in my thing.
Okay. Does this do that your?
The auto bridge must not be active, which means you'll have to call in to hear the webinar.
I'm going to give this to your folder, okay? Okay. All right, go ahead. This is your last test, so I hope your new one.
What was the other math thing? What was that?
I don't know what.
Way to go.
Like last year.
I don't know what it was.
All right, Salem Tomboll, just in a few seconds here, we'll go ahead and get started.
I will see you then, okay?
We'll have access to all these PowerPoints.
Makes sense. Don't know. What? Something.
What?
I'll do that one.
All right, well, it is 5 o'clock, so let's go ahead and begin our webinar. My name is Scott Schumacher, and I'm the principal at St. Peter's Lutheran School in Columbus, Indiana, and I have the privilege of introducing today's webinar, Way to Go. Today's webinar will feature a best practice at Salem Lutheran School in Tomball, Texas. This webinar was prepared by our friends at Salem Tomball. It is being produced by Concordia University, Wisconsin's Office of Continuing and Distance Education. We thank our friends at Concordia for their leadership and support in this endeavor. Just a few notes before we begin our webinar. This will be the final webinar from Salem Tomball, and again, we congratulate Salem Tomball for being selected as an exemplary school. And later this month, on January 27th, we'll hear from our friends at Valley Lutheran High School in Saginaw, Michigan. Live webinars are participatory events, and we appreciate your questions and comments. Feel free to express yourself by typing in the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. All the webinars presented this year are available on demand on the login page of the Lutheran School portal, and you need not be a portal member to view them. If you like what was shared, we invite you to view a recorded webinar together with your faculty. This is a great opportunity for professional development. Another great resource of Lutheran schools is the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Our Facebook page provides another opportunity for our schools to connect informally. And we invite you to share your encouraging stories in the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Let's go ahead and begin our webinar with a brief word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we acknowledge you as our Savior and King and give you thanks for the opportunity to serve you in our various schools. We thank you for all Lutheran schools, but especially give you thanks for Salem Lutheran School in Tomball, Texas. We thank you for blessing this school with a fantastic staff who work hard to draw children and their families into a close relationship with our Savior, Jesus Christ. We ask that you continue to shower your blessings upon Salem Tomball. Give the staff at Salem Tomball all they need to teach the students entrusted their care. And finally, Lord, we ask that you be with those who are presenting this webinar, as well as those who are participating in this webinar. May this next hour be a blessing to all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So we welcome Dr. Mary Beth Gardner, Kim Chason, and Jennifer Smithers from Salem Tomball as they present Way to Go.
Hi, everyone. This is Mary Beth. I'm hoping that you're watching the PowerPoint right now. That little guy on the graphic is pretty self-explanatory. He's got his hand up to his ear, and that's basically what we're going to be sharing is how well you can listen to families in your school. If you're familiar with the wonderful Lutheran system of homeschooling, wonderful way to consider it. But what I'd like you to do is take that paradigm out of your mind. Let's begin with a new one. Let's start with a thought that you're not going to be doing talking, you're going to be doing the listening. And the little guy is representing the teacher. And there's 4 ways to get to that positive relationship with a family. The first thing is we're going to talk about a Tell the Teacher More Day. we're going to learn to engage in the best avenue of communication you can with an individual family. The hardest thing, perhaps, is learning to listen without defense to a family, and finally, leading as a professional. So let's get started. The next, go ahead, Jenny, just go ahead and go to the next slide. Listen with your heart. You've all been in a conversation before with a spouse, perhaps, or someone that's having a heated conversation with you, and you're more intent on getting what you have to say out versus listening and watching what they're having to say in the conversation. It's hard. It's difficult. But God can do that to you. He can turn that spirit around, and you can listen truly with your heart. Herb Cohen, in the slide here, is a famous negotiator. And he says that effective listening requires more than hearing just the sounds transmitted. It demands that you find meaning and understanding in what is being said. After all, meanings aren't really in words, but in people. And then finally, many people put their focus on the ideas being communicated, and they almost seem to forget about the person. You can't do that and listen with your heart. Let's go on to the next slide. So let's talk. Talk about your school. Think about it. How are things going? Communication. How about parents and teachers? How does your school establish communication from the beginning? Do you do home visits? Does the teacher go out and do all the presentations? Do they learn all they can by sitting in the home? Or does the parent really talk about the individual child? And then finally, how do parents feel about the quality of communication at your school in general? Really good, honest question. Okay. What we want to know is, what I want you to know is, this is research-based. So thanks to a colleague up there in Michigan, he did a master's thesis on communication with families. And he found out that there's a gap that exists between parents and teachers. Well, you know, we know that. It's hard. It's hard. We want to please parents. We want to be a professional. Yet sometimes we're not always upfront with the parent about everything that's going on. And sometimes, don't you know, the parent isn't always upfront with us. So the theory, based on research, is that collaborative communication, that means communication that goes both ways, results if the school takes the responsibility to initiate the communication. We're the ones they're paying, we're the ones they're coming to, we're the professionals, so we are bound and bonded to respond professionally. So now let's look at the research, because when we come about at the end, you're going to see that the strategies that you are learning about actually show you that research tells us after being surveyed, these things are working, these strategies are working. So what we know from research is that parents' overall evaluations of the teacher, their sense of comfort with the school, and the level of involvement was much higher when they received frequent and effective communication. And the way that teachers use communication tools is dependent upon their preconceived attitudes and beliefs. Parents want to hear positive as well as negative news, believe it or not. They do want to hear the negative news, and parents and teachers agree discussing issues person to person is preferable over a phone call or rather than an email or something like that. They want it to be personable. And here's a couple more things. Parents and teachers both agree that fitting meetings at the beginning of the year when this is done, like we do a home visit, is difficult. It's very busy. Teachers preferred large group settings, and parents preferred one-on-one. Don't you know that too? We like to tell what we're going to do in the classroom to a large group and say it once and say it to individuals. The other thing is that starting the school year out right with strong lines of communication, they're going to pay dividends. Now, this is all research-based, so let's take a look now at what we know. Schoolwork must be intentional in the development of a method to address the unique needs of their families. It's more research. And teachers should be encouraged to personalize their communications to parents. So these are all things, once again, we're going to consider when you're talking to parents at the beginning of the year. Okay, let's see where we can go from here. All right, here's what happens when just the parents are talking to you or you're trying to reach out to the parents. This is one-sided, okay? When we don't talk together, There can be accusations against one another, assumptions, defensiveness, gossip, lack of information, lack of support, both real and perceived, misinformation that almost becomes like a lie. And then here's some of the negative outcomes from that one-sided, where are we? I'm sorry. We're doing it. The one-sided communication results in a number of negative outcomes. We just talked about those. Let's go to the next one. Okay, and then collaborative communication, meaning both ways. We all know that this is no different than when you communicate with a spouse, right? This is simple stuff. But when you communicate both ways, parents communicating with you, you're communicating with a parent, there's going to be accurate information. Both parties can gain confidence in the abilities of each other. Both parties make collaboration a priority. Rapport grows, making communication easier and more effective. And mutual support between home and school is fostered. I don't know about you, but that felt a whole lot better saying that than the things that result from one-way communication. Okay, the first way that you can begin to establish this relationship that's positive between parents and teachers is what our teachers have talked about. We call it Tell the Teacher More Day. So the little guy on the front can remind you, the little graphic, holding your hand to your ear. All the teacher does is sit and listen. And we give parents some homework. They take a page home, and they fill this little one page out. And when they come talk to the teachers, these are the questions we hope that they've answered. So the first one is, describe your family dynamics, like single family, blended family. We've been together for 15 years. We have kids at all ages. Describe your child's temperament. What motivates your child? What distresses your child? What concerns do you have that you want the teacher to know? And what's the best way to communicate with you, the parent? Let's look at that just one more time. I want you to look at those words. Dynamics, temperament, motivation, distress. You didn't say anything about personality. You didn't say anything about strengths or weaknesses. These are all verbs that describe a child. And there are no bad verbs or words or adjectives that can go on here. A parent knows their child best. And I've got to tell you, when we sit up front, we spend a couple days doing this, and the teachers set up their own appointments. They're 15 minutes long. We sit in the front of the office, and we watch parents come in and go out. And it's real easy to ask them, how did the visit go? What do you think? They come out crying, or they come out going, that's the best 15 minutes I've ever spent. Or, I've never been able to fill out a paper like that for my child. I'm sad to say, it was hard filling it out. I've got to learn about my child better. So those are some of the outcomes that we get from Tell the Teacher More Day. Tim, Jen, do you want to add to any of this?
I teach kindergarten here at Salem, and I think we sometimes have some of the more nervous parents. Sometimes it's their first time at the school. Sometimes, it's the first time their child's entering school. So I think for them, it really puts them at ease to know how much you care about their child, how much that you really just want to know them. And I think it just really just kind of gives them a little bit of a peace about it to know that you're going to love them as much as they do.
Jen?
The bit I have, I'm going to wait till you go over these numbers here.
Okay. Okay. Let's go on to the next slide then. Okay, what you're going to see here, and we have more data that will be coming out shortly for you, and we'll update the PowerPoint. But over the last 5 years, the data has been very consistent. And it said to the parents, and we surveyed them in October and November, did you better connect with the teacher one-on-one than a large group setting? Remember that research? Sure enough, it talks about the fact that they did, which isn't surprising. Of course they would connect. Go to the next one. Did you feel the teacher listened to you and your concerns for your child? Absolutely. Here we go again. They all agreed. Yes, the teacher listened. Next thing is to tell the teacher more day something you would do every day. Look at that stat, 95%, or every year. I'm sorry. Yeah. Then finally, overall, how would you rate the school when it comes to its effort to communicate with parents? So there you have it. What we did here was compare the school in Michigan that began this little experiment, and then with Richard's permission, we replicated it here in Tomball over a course of 3, now 5 years. And what you see is the data is very familiar and similar. The small school that they are, the larger school that we are, they're in the north, we're in the south. We have very different geographic people sociologically and economically, and it's still the same result. How would you rate its effort to communicate with parents? When you begin with this sort of strategy, they fully agree. Jen, you anything to say about that?
Well, my name's Jennifer Smithers, and I teach fourth grade. And several years ago, when Mary Beth brought this idea up, she knows I'm one of the more slow thinkers on staff, and so I was not jumping on the bandwagon right away here. However, I'll say that, but I also knew we were missing a huge chunk. I couldn't put my finger on what it was exactly, and I was struggling in my mind if we needed to go back to home visits. But I also knew our school in the geographic area, I'm not sure how you would do home visits because we have kids that travel an hour. So trying to do 24 home visits, we'd be doing them up till Christmas time, I think. So, and Mary Beth kind of really didn't give us a choice, so I went ahead and dove in and did it. And after the first year, I could easily say I got more out of the Tell the Teacher More meetings than I ever did on a single home visit. And the reason was because I wasn't talking. I was listening for those 10, 15 minutes, depending on the meetings, whereas all the home visits I've done in the past, I was always talking. This is what we're going to learn in science. This is what we're going to learn in religion. And I really, other than learning the parent's name, the parent's address, that's as far as the conversation really went in regards to their child. So here I knew what their temperament was, what, distressed them, if there were any special medical conditions. And so within the first year, I was on the bandwagon very quickly.
Okay, let's go. Thank you, Jennifer. Let's go to the next one. And this is very important data. How pleased are you with the school so far? And if you look at that data, there were very few people disagreeing that they were very pleased with the school so far. Remember we said, parents, research proved it, when parents are happy with the communication with their teacher, they're happy with the school so far. So let's go to the next slide. Now what we want to do is look at the E of the TELL strategy of building positive family relationships. First one was the Tell the Teacher More Day. And we're going to talk a little bit as we go through how do you train a teacher to do that when we talk about engaging the teacher in the actual event. But this is about engaging the best avenue of communication for each family. Part of that 5-question little report that the parent filled out was how do I want to be best communicated with? And this can be crazy. I mean, if you're a teacher and you have 24 kids, you're going to have to have a spreadsheet to remember who wants to be communicated by an email, text, whatever. But when you communicate with that person in the way in which they best communicate, you're showing respect to them and honor. And we have a 4th grader right now that I can send emails every day, all day long, and Mama isn't going to answer it. She told me, if you have a problem, please pick up the phone. And guess what? She responds to a phone call. So we pick up the phone and we talk to her that way. But look at this quote for a minute. Debrun is the author of The Master Teacher, and I happen to love the philosophy of what he does. The interesting thing about Debrun is that he uses philosophy and he doesn't use real life experiences to teach and train. So what we did was we took his philosophy and we applied strategy, and here you go. But listen to this. He writes, our first job is to teach. But that doesn't mean we function in a vacuum. Once we open those classroom doors, we need to move into the larger community that involves parents. Too much goes on in a good classroom for it to be regarded as an isolation ward. We should develop a partnership out of desire, not because it's the law. After all, the children in our classes, they're more than just our students. They're their parents' children. And the education of these children is a shared responsibility. This must be our professional stance. Therefore, we don't have the right to exclude parents when things are going well or when they're going badly. That's the hard stuff, isn't it, everybody? It's when you have to deliver a not-so-nice message. And, man, we have to do that a lot. But what do we remember from research is that parents want to know the positive as well as the negative. Yeah, and that's why, we're all been trained in that, Jenny was just referring, always start on a positive note, and this way, you listening to the family may be a whole unique way of doing things, but they know their child first, they know you're listening, and before that child even walks into your classroom, you already have an idea what they're going to be like. So you as the teacher are armed with a lot of information. Okay. These are some of the responses that the teachers answered. That's what I love about our little book that we've got. Man, the teachers' responses are like gold. I've got to tell you, my staff is, I don't want to say they're old, they're seasoned, and they have taught for a number of years. And if anybody's a hard nut to crack when it comes to a new philosophy, a new thing we want to try, it better, number one, be research-based, and number two, it better just work, because we're all in. And like Jennifer said, you get on the bandwagon, you give it a shot. So when you look through these quotes, and I'm going to have Kim and Jen talk a little more, I want you to think of something. I want you to remember that a philosophy and a strategy is only going to depend on the buy-in of your staff. If your staff buys into something you're trying, 100%, you can bet that it's going to make a difference. But if you've got some staff out there that are resistant and aren't willing to try it, or even turn it around and talk negatively, I can tell you it's not going to work. So we need to train, we need to teach, we need to develop a buy-in among your faculty that, hey, do you guys want to be treated as professionals? Do you really want to make a difference in a kid's life? Do you really want to be able to lay a foundation to share Jesus Christ with his family? So let's begin on a positive note. Let's get out there and let's share and let's listen and let's respect one another. So let's go on. And Kim, you want to add a little more? How did things change after you had your initial conversation with the parents?
I think it really puts parents at ease. I think they know your heart then. They know that you really care about the kids. It just really, I can't imagine not doing this. Like, once you've done it, and we've done it, like you said, 5 years, I think if we didn't do it, it would be so much harder. One, on the families, just to kind of feel like they're inside the loop, but also as a teacher, because you really wouldn't know the kids and their parents and their families. And so, like I said, it just sets the right tone for the school year. It says, I care, I want to know. And like I said, they will tell you things that you just wouldn't imagine. And some of their stories are difficult and sad, and some of them are just amazing and blessing, and you can just grow by learning about them. And so I just think, I just can't imagine not doing it. Like I said, it's just phenomenal.
Jennifer, do you have anything to add about what did it do to your communication load after we once had, I'm laughing, but it's going to add to your job load. Communication is always a thing. So talk about how it added to what you do in communication with parents.
Well, in some cases it probably went down, but in other cases it went up. One of the biggest things that I really just appreciated was the fact that the conversations had already happened in regard to students who were like severely allergic to peanuts or had, severely allergic to bee stings or something. That conversation already happened on Meet the Teacher Day. In previous years, I always felt very uncomfortable because it was a hall conversation, and I knew I needed to be listening because this was a serious medical condition, but I'm listening to this parent with one ear, and I'm looking at Henry and Bob in the classroom, and who knows what's going on there, and I wasn't giving that parent the full attention. So this just took care of all of that. That conversation had already happened. Also, we do have students here that have special needs, and in some cases with IEPs and stuff, some of that conversation had already happened. What can I do to best help the student if they had a reading or a math problem? Because those conversations have happened, the communication had lessened, but yet then I think, as Kim was saying, the parents felt more comfortable, and so yes, there were a lot more of those emails. Tomorrow's spirit dress, so is it okay if we wear jean shorts, or do we have to wear chapel uniform? And they were just a very informal, quick, is it okay if, emails, and they were, you can answer them very quickly, but I think those went up, but I think the reason those increased was just because the parents felt very comfortable coming and saying, can we wear this for chapel uniform, or can we wear this on Spirit Day, or is it okay if I, pick up early or something?
I think it's real important too that to have that handout available for parents, because you could say, come in and meet and tell me about your child, but by them having given the thought ahead of time of thinking about writing it down, then after the meeting's over too, you have it in writing. So I always have those sheets, and I pray over those, like with the before the kids even enter my classroom. I try to kind of figure out who they are a little bit. Sometimes, if kids are there, like even when we screen with kindergarten, I take a picture of the kids so I can just be looking at their little faces. So when they walk in and after you've met them, like, hey, I know you have a dog named such and such, and they're like amazed because parents will tell you so much, and it already makes the students feel at ease, I think, too. And like I said, some parents get a little nervous as they come into a classroom for the first time, but once it's written down, they can just look at the paper, refer to it, and like I said, you have that tool all year with the numbers, how they want to communicate, and you just kind of make it part of your file for them. So it's great.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
And for middle school, that even works better with having the paper written, because the parents meet with the homeroom teacher, but they have several other teachers, and then that file just kind of gets passed around. So even if you maybe teach art or PE, you still get all that information on that child, which is just very helpful to have.
One little thing that happened with the administrative staff, we asked our teachers then, when the email thing starts happening back and forth between parents and teachers, always add one of us on the copy line, not the blind copy line, but the copy line. And what happens is Mr. Salfeld and I are part of the communication process, and we don't care that we're copied. We just like to know what's happening. So we get a great pulse on everything that's being said across the school. We're not trying to get involved in things we don't want to be involved in, but we like to know, hey, what's the positive take or what's the negative take in this situation, so that we're already informed and nothing is a surprise. But what's interesting for Mr. Salfeld and I is that when we are asked to reply to a parent, we always put the teacher on the copy line. So what does that do to your communication as a professional? Just think about that a minute. If you include your principal or your team leader or your level leader on the copy line and you're responding to a parent, you're an upset teacher and you have rights to be that way sometimes. What does that do to your temperament? Just by being accountable, look how your spirit can change. And look at the professional level at which you've been raised to now. And I've got to tell you, it's become quite a wonderful thing. And you know what disappears for us is issues of communication and misunderstanding with parents. And I can't tell you the number of people who appreciate the transparency that we've developed between us. So always the teacher knows I've got their best interest in mind, and always the parent knows that the teacher has their best interest in mind when they're willing to copy us in those sort of communication. So just a little tidbit of what comes out is a blessing to all of us. Let's flip on to that next slide there. Okay, this is the first L in TELL strategy of getting to that positive relationship. Probably the hardest one for us as professionals. We work hard. We love the Lord. We're doing everything we possibly can. We feel like we work 24/7. And now we're being asked to listen without defense to the parent. And confrontation can lead to fear for both parents and teachers. It's normal to be anxious about a meeting with a parent. I wrote in there in the book that sometimes you get a note from the office because you can't get to your email or to your phone. And you see that a certain parent called and you just get that lump in your throat, or you get that upset stomach just based on the fact that a parent wants to talk to you. That happened to me today. I was worried about what a parent wanted to say, and I really didn't have a reason to, but I was concerned. And at the end of the day, guess what? The parent was here just to tell me they had to move to a different location, and they loved everything about their school, and they were so sad to leave, they didn't want to even talk to me. So what a blessing is that, But we were still nervous about it. So that happens. We're human. We're human. The second point, there isn't any reason to fear a parent conference, but there might be a reason for you to feel guilty. Now, you all teachers out there and administrators, listen to this just for a minute, okay? Just listen. If a student's behavior or academic performance was such that you should have notified the parents before they contacted you, you should feel guilty. I'm sorry, we've all done it. We don't like confrontation. I'm sitting here with teachers that we work hard and we love those kids. But our job is to do and communicate with parents whether it's good or whether it's bad. And so if you've already got a positive relationship established, when the tough road is ahead, it's going to make you stronger. So if the parents or the teacher build up negative feelings prior to the conference, the meeting itself will fall short of success. And when these conferences fail, student problems are not solved, they're multiplied. Administrators, if you're listening, teachers, if you're listening and you go into a parent conference, the one thing that we never want to hear is, well, this has been going on for weeks. Oh my, how sad is that for the parent to hear? Well, we know from research, we already said, they want to know the good and the bad. We're the professionals. We should have reached out. And if we have that positive relationship, they're going to take it as a professional opinion, not an assault, not an attack. Nope, not an attack on them as parents and not an attack on us as teachers. So for me, this is probably the most important piece. So let's talk about now, how do you prepare for that particular situation? Go ahead, let's pass that one up, Jenny. Okay, let's talk about listening, that you listen in a positive, active way. Okay, responsive listening is what Richard DeBruyn calls it. There's three things. You learn eye contact. You learn to engage the speaker physically, like leaning toward the speaker. These are very simple techniques, but sit side by side. Don't sit with a piece of furniture in front of you. You can do a lot of things. Our teachers, even when they have their Tell the Teacher More day, we try to make it a homey atmosphere, some flowers and homemade cookies, and it just makes them feel welcome. Finally, the third thing, probably, ladies and gentlemen, the hardest thing we have to learn to do is to be responsive in our listening. And what that means is repeat in your own words what the other person is saying to you. Now, here we have to go back to the beginning. You know, we talked about listening with your heart. We can't be so caught up in what we want to say that we can't listen to their heart. And I think that's the success of this whole scenario here, is when a parent truly does know that you've heard them. Maybe you just don't say anything. Maybe you just listen to them talk. That's all they need at the time. So practice on that. We did. Remember, as a staff, we broke up in partners and we practiced eye contact and we practiced engaging the speaker and responsive listening. So body language, eye contact, all of that leads to.
You know, on that note too, it's hard to not, as a teacher, want to sit there and just take notes and write that. But then it becomes more like because inevitably the parents will write down what they want to tell you, but then they'll start talking and they'll tell you so much more. And you want to do that. So usually when I schedule my appointments, I have like a 5-minute buffer in between. So like I just responsive listen to the parent. Once they leave, I just jot down every other note they may have told me onto that paper. So I'll still have that later, but I'm still just showing them that, you know, I'm not like so, you know, office-y notes taking where it's so, it kind of then puts that wall up again between parent and teacher and not so much the friendship kind of please tell me, you know, kind of thing. So
the first Tell the Teacher More that we did, I had teachers, well, we thought we could accomplish many things in one day. And we had 15-minute segments with like a 5-minute break in between, and most of the teachers had an average of 20 to visit. So they went and they were so engrossed in their active listening that they went home emotionally exhausted from listening about these families. And that's our hearts, guys and girls. That's what we're in ministry for, is to be empathetic and to love these families. But what we learned was we can't take all that in one day. Maybe it's going to take 2, 3, 4 days of being up for these families and listening to them and praying with them and loving on them and keeping the notes. So thank you, Kim. That is so true. Okay, let's go to that next slide. Here's some results from our techniques. If we truly are empathetic and place our own opinion, advice, and correction aside, parents will believe we're easy to talk to, and they will communicate more easily and freely with us. If our attitude toward our parents needs to be one of concentrate on what really matters to the child. Show genuine concern. You know, some of us, believe it or not, have a hard time saying, I love your child. I know it's easy for me. I'm a grandma. I got lots of practice. But I have to tell you, if you're young and you're new out there, you're going to have to learn to use the words, I love your child. I want the best for your child. We're partners in ministry here. I want the best. Please trust me. Say those words over and over to a parent. And, you know, sometimes that's all they need. They just need to be heard. Finally, this is from DeBryn again. He writes, this is hard, guys and girls. This is hard, but it's true. A cold, hasty, or matter-of-fact attitude will not secure the trust and confidence of anyone. Talking about parents. Sometimes we might think that these attitudes prove our objectivity or professionalism. Nothing is further from the truth. The image you project as a teacher and a human being reflects upon you, your teaching, and your entire school. So there again, if the parent, what we know from research, if they're happy with the communication with their teacher, they're happy with the communication at their school. So now let's finally go to the last L of the TELL strategy. Lead as the professional. I love this. This makes all sense. And in the educational arena, the teacher's the professional. We started out this whole conversation about if you want to be treated as a professional, the hardest part is learning to be one. So here's the deal. If schools were hospitals, teachers would be the doctors. Think about that. If we were a hospital, we'd be diagnosing, treating, adjusting, monitoring progress, but we'd also be talking with the family, wouldn't we? The surveys that we have support that parents are happy with the school in general when lines of communication are open and effective. Parents deserve regular updates as to their child's academic progress and behavioral issues. By providing those updates, the teacher continues this rapport building process that started with Tell the Teacher More Day. The year only gets better. And I have to tell you, when you've got a positive relationship that's built on trust from the very beginning, when the tough times come, and mind you, they're going to come, and you're going to be trusted. You can go to that family, and if it's an email or a text or a voicemail, you say, remember when you told me that Johnny got frustrated when his other friends couldn't follow the rules in the classroom? Well, he's beginning to shut down, and I'm seeing that now. Can you come in, and can we please talk about that? Or little Susie Q is having issues with her cell phone, and I remember you telling me you wanted me to let you know the minute something like that was happening. I'm letting you know, come on in and let's talk about it. It's easy. Like Jennifer said, you can be short and to the point when you've already established a relationship because they know that you're not being short and terse because you're mad at them. You're just getting to the point because they already know you care. So, yeah, here we are. Schools or hospitals, we're the doctors. And if parents fail to communicate with the teacher, listen to this one. This is important. The positive communication theory breaks down. Of course, we can reach out and reach out and reach out, and if they don't communicate, what do? Well, most of the time we give up from frustration. But teachers can be proactive by taking the initiative to call the parents and keep them informed. We've got to do that. What if you were going to the doctor and you got a bad blood test result, and the doctor kept trying to call you and say, call me please, and you don't respond? They're going to continue to call you until you call them back. It's important. It's that important. Research tells us parents want to know. And we know that as Lutheran schools, that's the biggest thing that's so important is the parent-teacher bond they have with that child and bonding together to raise that child in a formal educational experience. And the conclusions, here we go. Philosophy of positive communication has to be developed in your school. To be successful, that has to happen. Teachers have to be trained in how to listen and follow through with their parent communication. Successfulness school-wide depends on the depth of implementation. Like we said, it's either an all or none phenomenon to be a success. It's not like, well, I'll do a little listen as a parent and then I'll do a little talking about how the rules go. No, guys and gals, it can't work that way. A parent has got to be, it's got to be pure to begin with, to develop that relationship. Then we hold another night at our school. We hold another time where they can come in mass and the teachers can tell the group all the rules and regulations. Because after all, that's not about that child. It's about the whole group. So parents have to take part too and tell the teacher more to make this work. That's obvious. We get about a 95 to 96% to where parents come, and we tell them from the beginning the most important thing you're going to do is talk to your child's teacher. So, and they take it seriously. Here's some unexpected conclusions. Children see teachers and parents as partners. Imagine that one. They see us as friends and respectful individuals raising them. The amount and frequency of communication greatly increases at all levels. The website needs to be updated constantly. Mrs. Sonic is our webmaster, and she knows that, boy, when communication's flowing, it better be updated and right. And we want it to be. Teachers are respected for their professionalism and assertive leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, you deserve that. You deserve to be treated as a professional. But ladies and gentlemen, you got to earn it. And if you act like a professional, you'll be treated as one also. And finally, the school in general is viewed in high regard in its effort for communication. Sometimes, you have to say the tough stuff. But that tough stuff then is seen as a reflection of who you are as a godly individual, and that's what we want for you. Here's a couple cool things. If you're a principal out there, take this strategy. One of the schools that used our strategy took it a step further, and the principal said, I like this, but I'm going to model tell the teacher more because I'm the new guy. So I'm going to model tell the teacher more by the new teachers coming in and talking to me. So if you're a new principal or you have a new school year and new staff, you have returning staff and some new questions, same questions, open-ended and directed. And if you want some research for effectiveness, give this a try. Up with your 5 questions about, let your teacher fill them out, and then interview them. See how it goes. And then finally, he said, I really enjoyed Tell the Principal More, and I'm going to do it again this year. During this time, I'll schedule time in between the visits to make any notes. And like Kim was making notes, was trying to make notes to parents, he realized that making notes while you're talking is freaking people out.
Yeah, no,
they feel like you're more of a psychiatrist. This is a relationship builder. So try to, wait until you're done. It's that eye contact thing, and then write notes in between. And so now it's your time. If you have any questions to ask us or share any ideas you might have to make this a better strategy, we'd love for you to give it a try. Jen, Kim, Jennifer, anything you need to add to wrap it up for us? We're a little early here for questions.
Yeah, the way to go.
Really, it is. It really is. Right. If we want to conclude with a couple things, people miss opportunities for the connection and chance to build deeper relationships because they don't make themselves approachable, without a doubt. Approachability has little to do with other people's boldness or timidity. It has everything to do with how you conduct yourself and what messages you send to others. So this is difficult. If communication isn't your bag and if it's not something you're I think this is a wonderful way to show you that you can build good skills. But nothing's better than having your whole school on board, working it through, being treated as a professional, going into a conference and knowing that you will be respected for your opinion. Knowing that your principal knows what you're going through because you've communicated all along. Parent knowing that you respect them because you as the principal have been following the conversation all along. You're a team. There are no we, they, we're a team. And I can't tell you what a blessing it has been to be able to see this work. So if you want a little book, go to the website, SalemLutheran.com, look at it, check it out, see what you want, and with a $5 book, you can change the whole communication system at your school for the better. Yeah.
This is Scott over here, and just a really quick comment here. A great job on your webinar today. Thanks so much for sharing this information with us. We really appreciate your information. And it seems like, one of the easiest things to do is just to simply tell your students that you love them and tell the parents that you love the students. I think that the trick is always, the trick really is to make sure that the parents, believe that you love their kids, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And sometimes you have to show them. You can't
right, yeah, absolutely. And that can look a lot of different ways, I suppose, huh?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot. lot of effort to be able to build a good enough relationship to share the tough stuff. But after all, isn't that what makes us better? Getting through that tough stuff with strategies and partnerships and seeing that child thrive. And being a partner with a parent is a whole lot better than being at odds with a parent. It's just the way it works.
Absolutely. Looks like there are still a few other attendees typing, so let's see if they have some questions before we go ahead and end the webinar. Let's see if there are any more questions out there.
Okay.
You know, just a little note here also, this website will be, or I'm sorry, this webinar will be archived. It'll be archived on the Lutheran School portal, so you should be able to access it there.
Okay, the question is, do you schedule meetings back-to-back with parents?
How would you answer that, Rose?
Okay, so what we've been given a lot of freedom here at Salem, and as long as we're doing this, and so what we do is we have probably 2 or 3 days that are kind of blocked off as Tell the Teacher More days, and Mary Beth allows us to kind of set up our own times. And like she said, you know, if you did all 20 or 15 of your students in one day, it can really be emotionally draining, and it kind of really, you know, really all blends together. So what most of us as staff do is, you know, we may establish our hours, like, you know, 2 or 3 hours in the morning. We also will do, you know, 2 or 3 hours in the evening to accommodate our working parents. And so it's kind of as your schedule allows, but we've had that flexibility, and I think that's really a successful way. It shows your flexibility of giving parents options, but it also gives you time to finish up bulletin boards in your classroom in between. So it's kind of up to each of us.
What do we use to schedule our appointments?
We use Snap Appointment currently, and it's a wonderful way of, it's a free website that we use, and teachers use it themselves so that they can schedule their own appointments and make it convenient to both them and their parents.
And realize that has grown over the years. You know, the first year we did it, it was clipboards and paper, 8 o'clock, 8:15, 8:30, and it was all in one day. But as we've seen the importance and also to take care of the teachers, because it is a long day with 24, that we've now changed to, this is over 3 days, and we've gone to web-based scheduling appointments too.
Yeah, and there was a comment made of having parents schedule on registration day, and that's what we do. We have we actually set up QR codes for each of our classes so the parents can use their smartphone. They go right up, scan the code, it pulls up our schedule, and they can log on right there and schedule their own appointment. So it's really great. Or they can go to the website and log in, but it gives them that option of instantly to set it up once and they don't do that till the end, and that is something they need to do, but we kind of hold our last station on registration day, finding out who your teacher is, so that way they can go sign up. The other benefit of doing it online is on registration day, if every parent's signing on a clipboard, they get to see who all's in their student's class. And so we kind of, by doing this, it gives a little anonymity, and kind of, you know, that way we can kind of set up those appointments and we're flexible. So it's good.
It's a growing thing, and we feel like we're getting better and stronger at it every year. It's an honor. I have to tell you all, it's an honor to be able to share this with you, because our strategy isn't to write a book about how to do this. Our idea is to share it with our other Lutheran schools so that they know that it isn't a secret. It's God's Word. It's the Spirit within us that makes us better. And to do this and share it with our parents, we can be just a little bit of Jesus for them, where they can trust us, they can put their kids in our care, and we can be everything we can to be with that family. And it's a joy to know that we can be successful at this. That last slide you'll enjoy. It's anonymous. But if you're still writing, I'll just read this to you, and you can shut your eyes and just relax. But you're going to laugh. Sooner or later, a wise man discovers that life is a mixture of good days and bad, victory and defeat, give and take. He learns that it doesn't pay to be too sensitive soul, that he should let some of it run over his back, just like a duck lets water run over its back. He learns that he who loses his temper usually loses out, and that all men have burnt toast for breakfast now and then, and he shouldn't take the other fellow's grouch so seriously. This was written a long, long time ago, so I love that. He learns that most others that are ambitious as he is, and that they have brains that are good or better, that hard work, not cleverness, is the secret of success. And he learns that no man ever gets to first base alone, and that it's only through cooperative effort that we move on to better things. He realizes that the art of getting along depends 98% on his own behavior toward others. And so if you want to make yourself agreeable and approachable, then you need to put them at ease. Hope that helps you out a little bit. It was written like back in the 1500s, and it's anonymous. So share it, do it, love it, enjoy it. Most of all, love what you do.
All right. Well, again, thanks so much for leading us in this webinar here today. And we also thank Tom DeValia from Concordia, Wisconsin, for helping out with this webinar. We appreciate all your support, Tom. And then also,
happy to help.
It's great to have you on board, Tom. It is, and Matt Stenson as well. And then don't forget that Valley Lutheran High School in Saginaw, Michigan will present their webinar 2 weeks from today, on January 27th, at the same time here, 4 o'clock Central Time. So with all that being said, again, great job to Salem Tomball. Fantastic work. And we certainly pray God's blessings on your work there at Salem Tomball, and of course, everyone else who participated in this webinar as well. God bless.
God bless.
Right. See you too.
And, you know,
Well, I put that, I'm on the Yes. Okay. Yeah. That's the next year.
he's like the voice.
Then we got a response, so I said, well, I'll email. And I got an email, I got a response.
Yeah, you should put it that way, right there.
Yeah. But email, is that name? No, that's you. Yeah. See, okay. There, I had a response right away. So,
Okay.
Amy's gonna be home, she's got the weekend, and she won't be home till like 5 o'clock Saturday. She wanted to come home, but she doesn't have class until Wednesday.
Yeah.
And, I told her that this fun one, I would take her out, Mike and I would take her out for,
Good.
dinner with Journey. Terry's gonna come home for a shower on Saturday when she's gonna leave on Sunday, so I said, I'd like to take him out to dinner on Saturday night.
Yeah.
I said, I really want you guys to come for Saturday night, and I don't want to be there.
There you go. I think that's a good plan of action.
It's okay.
It is.
It's okay. So, anyway.
All right, well,
So, yeah, no, I think everything is going on. I'm getting into the Winterfest now, and only 3 schools have sent in their
that's usually the truth.
stuff, and that was due last Friday, and I'm just now looking to see what I got and what I don't have, and I don't have much.
That usually is the case, so.
So, anyway.
Are you, thinking that that 23 position I got in the athletic director?
What in
I didn't think about the email I got from Aaron on that.
how long ago?
Not real long ago.
Because I sent him what a sample schedule could look like for this person.
Not real long ago, because I told you I was over at his house, and he and Mindy were talking a little bit, I felt it was pretty negative.
They think they can do it. They think they could do it like this.
Right. Oh, I know.
Mindy thinks she could do it like this.
Yeah,
Mindy doesn't.
She's hopeful.
She doesn't talk to her anybody.
No, and it's just a time commitment. They have no clue, Jill, and so that's, I don't remember what his email said, something about, do you think the aggravation with athletic director was more the planning time or the amount of time spent here? And so I just sent an email back and I said, Aaron, I think you're reading wrong why I quit. I was just done being athletic director. But and I just told him, it's an inordinate amount of time. And I said, you're seeing both points, what's the problem and why I think it's so important to have a person that's committed to it, that person. And I said, it's amount of time, but it's also not having time during the day. The worst year I had was when, my last year was not my worst year because you gave me a little bit of planning time.
Worst year was your first year in second grade too, probably.
It was the first 2 years of second grade because I had no committed time to that. And I really didn't have time during the day, and so that's why I said, you need a staff person who can be here, who can tell everybody, call me, I'm available from 10 to 11 o'clock, X number of days a week, and that's when I need your phone calls, your athletic directors, your You know, and I said, that's what's best for the program, someone who is vested.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, the amount of time that's spent, you're not going to get somebody from the outside vested unless you want to pay them $10,000, Ken.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. And I certainly hope, even when they're adding it in the call, they can compensate a little bit for that.
Oh, I still plan on keeping a stipend.
Yeah, well,
Because
nice
you do
if
have
they
a lot of
do
evening
stuff
time.
like-
You have a lot of evening time.
Right.
You know?
Well, and here's the other thing.
But there's no reason that they have to be there at every home event.
Right, I agree. Well, I talk all the time, but the unfair part of it is that, and not maybe not so abstracted, but all those people get to go home during the day.
Exactly.
When they have to.
Oh, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right.
But the person that does athletics doesn't get to do that.
No,
They can't walk. So
No,
you have
person
to
that does principal doesn't get to do that.
That's exactly right, and that's not,
You know, and
part
that's the tiring part. You know, you can't work a 40-hour week. You can't work a 50-hour week. You know, when you're in season, it's a 60 to 70-hour week because you don't have that opportunity to go home during the morning.
Yeah.
Go home early in the afternoon and do your laundry and do your yard work and then come back then for the evening.
Because then there's no time to do that. You're always behind, and then you get that overwhelmed feeling, and then sometimes you just sit and don't do anything.
Because you don't know where to start.
That's
Or
right.
you gain 30 pounds because you
That's
get stressed
exactly right.
and you
Because
get
you don't
tired
have
and so you
time.
eat to try to have energy and you overeat and yeah.
Like it's late and you're eating your meal at 9:30,
Yep.
and
Absolutely.
you know, so okay. I can't stand any more health failure. There's another reason why we can't go to Jamaica in August.
In August. Oh, isn't that fantastic?
Don't tell anybody yet. Actually, Cindy doesn't even know yet.
Oh.
But that's
They're come home this weekend.
No, well, I think Rachel's telling friends this weekend. I've been dying.
How far is she?
She's almost 4 weeks. She's 11 weeks. They went and got a sonogram last week, and she's a little pain. But she's due on the 4th, which is perfect, because then I have 2 weeks basically before school starts to help out. So, but I've known, she had to tell me when we went to that birth, and she was only about 5 weeks then. But
So she waited that long.
Well, she got her daughter's birth, and she didn't have, she had been faking drinking since Thanksgiving, and with all her friends, she's been carrying around bottles of water and talking to waitresses and drinking cranberry vodka, supposedly. So anyway, but that's really why we're not. But I couldn't tell you then, so I did tell you a lie, but I knew you'd understand when I could tell you. So anyway, so can you imagine how hard it is for everybody?
Oh my God.
But don't say anything to anybody yet. Kelly knows because I knew it on the trip. Because I was looking at little onesies at Harry Potter. Oh, you know what? But nobody, really. The boys know. They told the immediate family at Christmas. I haven't had a start for 12 weeks. Wow. It's almost 12 weeks. So we're going to, Rachel's really sick. Otherwise, we were going to go over and tell her tonight. I would be with her when she tells me.
Oh, it's sick.
No, well, she got horrible. She missed work yesterday, but she also has been horrible. And I keep telling her, honey, that's a great sign. That's a great sign. Great sign.
That's pretty exciting.
Wow. Yeah.
I will.
Maybe what we can.
Now, you know, Senator Brightly, after her due date is 2 days before Sarah's wedding. And so she took it to somebody else. Just don't even, because she was not St. Louis, so just don't even.
Well, yeah, she doesn't even really want to come up to spring. So
No.
she's gonna,
No.
yeah.
No, I don't want her to come up.
Right.
One thing I want for her, exactly. If she hadn't had it by then, they have it.
Right. Right.
If she did have it, you know.
Right. Might not make it back home. All right, I'm not doing one for that.
Well, I know. Every time. She's doing better every day.
You know, she is. It's going to be the time with them, and she's very proud. And she has something